Ransomware, the thing that keeps many people awake at night. And I know you want to sleep better. So to sleep better, it begins by protecting your team and knowing that they are protected. So let's examine how to protect our teams from ransomware. With ransomware being so lucrative, it's not going away anytime soon. There is so much money being made right now by cyber criminals that they are not going to shut down their ransomware operations. They are treating these ransomware operations as a business, and they are running them like businesses. The only thing they are missing is being a publicly traded company on the stock exchanges. And here's a fact. You have either already been hit with ransomware, or one of these days you will be hit, regardless of whether you've already been hit or not. So here's the thing. If you're hit with ransomware, why did it happen? Where did you not protect your team? So it comes down to identifying where we are vulnerable and making sure we are taking the right steps to protect ourselves and everyone else around us. So in order to protect your team from ransomware, you need to understand how ransomware can get into your organization. So let's run through some ways that your team can get hit with ransomware. A very common way, and more common than you might expect, is with HTML email attachments that redirect your team members to a website that is controlled by the cyber criminals. And on this website, your team members are convinced to provide information, personal identifiable information, credentials as an example, or maybe even click on another link while they're on that website that downloads malware, that ransomware malware, or maybe other types of malware that gives the cyber criminals back doors into your organization. Now, whatever it is, it started here with a click. And because of that click on that attachment, the whole process began. So yes, it's that easy for the process to begin. And it doesn't have to be an HTML attachment. It could be a link that your team members are convinced into clicking. Whether it's in an email or a text message, this link is designed to accomplish the same objective as I just talked about. Take your team members to another website and get them to do something there that gives those cyber criminals the ability to do what they need to do to get that ransomware on your system. And even Office attachments are not safe. The majority of them are, but there's the odd one that's not going to be safe. And it's amazing how many Word docs or Excel spreadsheets were the initial way that the cyber criminals got into the systems. That's right. Why is that? Because these different types of Office documents can contain what are called macros. And specifically, the cyber criminals are embedding malicious macros that run when you open the doc. And then you enable the macro. And when you do this, code is run. A script is run. And that script, that code can be used to download that malware onto your system so the cyber criminals can do what they need to do. Ads are all over the place today, folks. Very popular way to get ransomware in your system. Ads are enticing, especially when there's a deal. But are all those ads safe? Absolutely not. Even the ones that appear to be safe from a legitimate source are no longer safe today. They look safe, but in fact they're not. They're designed to look like the real ad, but when you click on it, it's not real, and it takes you to another website that has the ability to download the ransomware onto your system or malware that gives the cyber criminals a back door into your system. So avoid clicking on ads. And weak passwords. That's another really simple way that cyber criminals are getting into your environment. First of all, they need remote access. So if you shut off remote access on a lot of your systems, then they're not going to be able to take advantage of those weak passwords. But many of our systems need remote access. So in this case, we have a cyber criminal doing a brute force attack on our password. And if it's a weak password, then they're eventually going to be successful. And when they're successful, they're going to get access to our system. And when they have access to our system, they're going to be able to do whatever they want to do to our system. And it's going to be, installing ransomware in this case. You know, it's crazy, but in 2022, the most common passwords in use are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right. QWERTY, password. Still blows my mind that password is still used. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the common passwords in use today. So no matter how many times we try to tell people don't use weak passwords, they're still using weak passwords. And so cyber criminals can still get in with ease. So we do need stronger passwords, and we need to disable remote access where we can. Pirate sites, great place for you to get infected with ransomware. If you are pirating software from unknown sources, you are begging to be a victim of a ransomware attack. I don't care if it's downloading a game or updating a game, a movie, music, PDF, doesn't matter what it is, software. No matter what it is, you could be downloading a file with ransomware on it, folks. And cyber criminals are taking advantage of this. Uploading a movie that looks like it is the movie, but it's not the movie, and then you go ahead and download it, and it's actually the ransomware, now it's on your system. And they have a back door into your environment as an example. Stay away from these pirate sites. And please, please, please stop plugging USB sticks that don't belong to you in your systems. Another thing that people keep doing that they shouldn't be doing. It's not your USB stick, don't plug it in. Doesn't matter how curious you are. USB sticks are still purposely left laying around. Many organizations to convince people to pick them up and plug them in somewhere so that way the cyber criminals have access to your system. So don't plug it in. It's a trap. So those are just some of the ways. But remember, it is not just about your team. I want you to think of the organization-wide ramifications of ransomware and all systems and the data on the systems that could be encrypted and held for ransom, all because of one misstep. So each and every single individual of the organization has a responsibility, and that is to protect themselves and the organization from this type of attack. All of us have to do our part so we don't end up in this situation. But what are we going to do to protect our teams? What are the small things we can do to make sure that they are protected? Well, first and foremost, what we want to make sure that we are doing is educating them. Think back to all the examples I gave you. They were based on a team member doing something they should not have done. Therefore, we need to train our teams on how they can behave better, how they can avoid getting duped and taken advantage of by the cyber criminals. They should watch videos, read and sign security policies, get reminded of all the things to look out for, and periodically get a surprise test to see if all that training is working. Remember, folks, don't be fooled by phishing emails. In addition, we need to make sure that we have the latest and greatest antivirus, anti-malware software that is up to date and running on our systems. In addition, we should consider implementing endpoint protection software that can identify abnormal behavior on the systems, such as files being encrypted, or multiple unsuccessful logins occurring, or software being installed that is not approved software in our environments. And this endpoint protection software will have the ability to notify us of this behavior so we can take action. We need to implement multi-factor authentication for everything. We're at that point where if a software, a service, a feature, a function does not offer multi-factor authentication, we should consider whether it is worth it or not to implement it. We really should. Multi-factor authentication should be enabled for all accounts, for all teams. Consider that weak passwords are still more common than complex passwords. And the only way we can circumvent that brute force attack is to have a second factor of authentication. So, really start looking into multi-factor authentication if you haven't yet. And finally, if you want to protect your team from ransomware, keep their systems up to date. Because many attacks begin because of flaws and bugs in software and operating systems. So keep everything you have running on those systems up to date. So folks, from this day forward, what are you going to do to protect your teams? You are going to ensure you are providing adequate testing and training to ensure your team members are being as safe and secure as they possibly can be. You are going to ensure that you have antivirus, anti-malware software installed and that it's up to date. You are going to start looking into MFA more than you ever have in the past, and you're going to make sure that it's enabled for all systems, devices, software, services, functions, features, procedures, whatever you can get MFA on. And last but not least, you're going to keep all of your software, no matter what type of software it is, up to date. So folks, take the time to do what you need to do to keep your team members safe from ransomware.